Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. In today's video, we're diving into the science of habit formation and uncovering the most effective way to make a new habit stick. We'll discuss why relying on motivation and discipline alone often falls short, and why these aren't your most reliable allies when it comes to long-term change. Instead, we'll explore how designing your environment can lead to better, more sustainable results. If you're ready to learn how to truly transform your habits, stay tuned. I am sure you'll learn a lot. But before we start, I want to ask you to give a thumb up if you find this information useful. Your presence, support, and contribution to this channel are highly appreciated. Without more further ado, let's get started. In 2001, researchers in Great Britain began working with 248 people to build better exercise habits over the course of 2 weeks. The subjects were divided into 3 groups. The first group was the control group. They were simply asked to track how often they exercised. The second group was the motivation group. They were asked not only to track their workouts, but also to read some materials on the benefits of exercise. The researchers also explained to the group how exercise could reduce the risk of coronary heart disease and improve heart health. Finally, there was the third group. These subjects received the same presentation as the second group, which ensured that they had equal levels of motivation. However, they were also asked to formulate a plan for when and where they would exercise over the following week. Specifically, each member of the following group completed the following sentence. During the next week, I will partake in at least 20 minutes of vigorous exercise on day, at time, at place. At the first exercise group, 35 to 38% of people exercised at least once per week. Interestingly, the motivational presentation given to the second group seemed to have no meaningful impact on behavior. But 91% of the third group exercised at least once per week, more than double the normal rate. The sentence they filled out is what the researchers referred out as an implementation intention, which is a plan you make beforehand about when and where to act. That is how you intend to implement a particular habit. The cues that can trigger a habit come in a wide range of forms: the feel of your phone buzzing in your pocket, the smell of chocolate chip cookies, the sound of ambulance sirens, but the 2 most common cues are time and location. Implementation intentions leverage both of these cues. Broadly speaking, the format for implementation intention is when situation A arises, I will perform response B. Hundreds of studies have shown that implementation intentions are effective for sticking to our goals. Whether it's writing down the exact time and date of when you will get a flu shot or recording the time of your colonoscopy appointment, they increase the odds that people will stick with habits like recycling, studying, going to sleep early, and stopping smoking. Researchers have even found that voter turnout increases when people are forced to create implementation intentions by answering questions like, what route are you taking to the polling station? What time are you planning to go? What bus will get you there? Other successful government programs have prompted citizens to make a clear plan to send taxes in on time and provided directions on when and where to pay late traffic bills. The punchline here is clear. The people who make a specific plan for when and where they will perform a new habit are more likely to follow through. Too many people try to change their habits without these basic details figured out. We tell ourselves, I'm going to eat healthier or I am going to write more. But we never say when and where these habits are going to happen. We leave it to chance and hope that we will just remember to do it or feel motivated at the right time. An implementation intention sweeps away foggy notions like, I want to work out more, or I want to be more productive, or I should vote, and transforms them into a concrete plan of action. Many people think they lack motivation, when what they really lack is clarity. It is not always obvious when and where to take action. Some people spend their entire lives waiting for the right time to make an improvement. Once an implementation intention has been set, you don't have to wait for inspiration to strike. Do I write a chapter today or not? Do I meditate this morning or at lunch? When the moment of action occurs, there is no need to make a decision. Simply follow your predetermined plan. The simple way to apply this strategy to your habits is to fill out this sentence: I will behavior. At time in, location. I will meditate for 1 minute at 7 a.m. at my kitchen. I will study Spanish for 20 minutes in my bedroom. I will exercise for 1 hour at my local gym. I will make partner a cup of tea at 8 a.m. at the kitchen. If you are not sure when to start your habit, try the first day of the week, month, or year. People are more likely to take action at those times because hope is usually higher. If we have hope, we have a reason to take action. A fresh start feels motivating. There is another benefit of implementation intentions. Being specific about what you want and how will you achieve it helps you say no to things that derail progress, distract your attention, and pull you off course. We often say yes to little requests because we are not clear enough about what we need to be doing instead. When your dreams are vague, it's easy to rationalize little excuses all day long and never get around to the specific things you need to do to succeed. Give your habits a time and a space to live in the world. The goal is to make the time and location so obvious that with enough repetition, you get an urge to do the right thing at the right time, even if you can say why. Obviously, you are never going to just work out without a conscious thought, but like a dog salivating at a bell, maybe you start to get antsy around the time of day you normally work out. There are many ways to use implementation intentions in your life and work. My favorite approach is one I learned from Stanford professor B.J. Fogg, and it is a strategy, one referred to as habit stacking. Habit stacking, a simple plan to overhaul your habits. The French philosopher Denis Diderot lived nearly his entire life in poverty, but that all changed on day in 1765. Diderot's daughter was about to be married, and he could not afford to pay for the wedding. Despite his lack of wealth, Diderot was well known as a writer of one of the most comprehensive encyclopedias at the time. When Catherine the Great, the Empress of Russia, heard of Diderot's financial troubles, her heart went out to him. She was a book lover and greatly enjoyed his encyclopedia. She offered to buy Diderot's personal library for £1,000, more than £155,000 today. Suddenly, Diderot had money to spare. With his new wealth, he not only paid the wedding, but also acquired a scarlet robe for himself. This robe was extremely beautiful. So beautiful, in fact, that he immediately noticed how out of place it seemed when surrounded by his most common possessions. He wrote that there was no more coordination, no more unity, no more beauty between his elegant robe and the rest of his staff. Diderot soon felt the urge to upgrade his possessions. He replaced his rug with one from Damascus. He decorated his home with expensive sculptures. He bought a mirror to place above the mantel and a better kitchen table. He tossed aside his old chair for a leather one. Like falling dominoes, one purchase led to the next. Diderot's behavior is not uncommon. In fact, the tendency for one purchase to lead to another one has a name: the Diderot effect. The Diderot effect stands for that obtaining a new possession often creates a spiral of consumption that leads to additional purchases. You can spot this pattern everywhere. You buy a dress and have to get new shoes and earrings to match. You buy a couch and suddenly question the layout of your entire living room. You buy a toy for your child and soon find yourself purchasing all of the accessories that go with it. It's a chain reaction of purchases. Many human behaviors follow this cycle. You often decide what to do next based on what you have just finished doing. Going to the bathroom leads to washing and drying your hands, which reminds you that you need to put the dirty towels in the laundry. So you add laundry detergent to his shopping list and so on. No behavior happens in isolation. Each action becomes a cue that triggers the next behavior. Why is this important? When it comes to building new habits, you can use the connectiveness of behavior to your advantage. One of the best ways to implement a new habit is to identify a current habit you already do each day, and then stack your new behavior on top. This is called habit stacking. Habit stacking is an intentional form of implementation intention. Rather than pairing your new habit with a particular time and location, you pair it with a current habit. This method was created by B.G. Fogg as part of his Tiny Habits program, can be used to design an obvious cue for nearly any habit. The habit stacking formula is after current habit. I will new habit. For example, after I take off my work shoes, I will immediately change into my workout clothes. After I sit down to dinner, I will say one thing I am grateful for that happened today. After I get into bed this night, I will give my spouse a kiss. The key is to tie your desired behavior into something you already do each day. Once you have mastered this basic structure, you can begin to create larger stacks by uniting small habits together. This allows you to take advantage of the natural momentum that comes from one behavior leading into the next. A positive version of the dead arrow effect. Habit stacking increases the likelihood that you will stick with a habit by stacking your new behavior on top of an old one. This process can be repeated to create numerous habits together, each one acting as the cue for the next. You can also insert new behaviors into the middle of your current routines. For example, you may already have a morning routine that looks like this: wake up, make my bed, take a shower. Let us say you want to develop the habit of reading more each night. You can expand your habit stack and try something like wake up, make my bed, place a book on my pillow, take a shower. Now, when you climb up to bed each night, a book will be there, waiting for you to enjoy. Overall, habit stacking allows you to create a set of simple rules that guide your future behavior. It is like you always have a game plan for which action should come next. Once you get comfortable with this approach, you can develop general habit stacks to guide you whenever the situation is appropriate. Like, for example, when I see a set of stairs, I will always take them instead of using the elevator. Or when I enter a party, I will introduce myself to someone I don't know yet. Or when I want to buy something over $100, I will wait 24 hours before purchasing. Or when I serve myself a meal, I will always put veggies on my plate first. Or when I buy a new item, I will give something away, one in, one out. No matter how you used his strategy, the secret to creating a successful habit stack is selecting the right cue to kick things off. Unlike an implementation intention, which, specifically, states the time and location for a given behavior, habit stacking implicitly has the time and location built into it. When and where you choose to insert a habit into your daily routine can make a big difference. If you are trying to add meditation into your morning routine, but mornings are chaotic and your kids keep running into the room, then that may be the wrong place and time. Consider when you are most likely to be successful. Don't ask yourself to do a habit when you're likely to be occupied with something else. Your cues should also have the same frequency as your desired habit. If you want to do a habit every day, but you stack it on habit that only happens on Mondays, that's not a good choice. One way to find trigger for your habit stack is by brainstorming a list of your current habits. Habit stacking works best when the cue is highly specific and immediately actionable. Many people select cues that are too vague. I made this mistake myself. When I wanted to start a push-up habit, my habit stack was, when I take a break for lunch, I will do 10 push-ups. At first glance, this sounded reasonable, but soon I realized the trigger was unclear. Would I do my push-ups before I ate lunch? After I ate lunch? Where would I do them? Where would I do them? After a few inconsistent days, I changed my habit stack to, when I close my laptop for lunch, I will do 10 push-ups next to my desk. Ambiguity gone. Habits like read more or eat better are worthy causes. But these goals do not provide instruction on how and when to act. Be specific and clear. After I close the door, after I brush my teeth, after I sit down at the table. The specificity is important. The more tightly bound your new habit is to a specific cue, the better the odds are that you will notice when the time comes to act. So the first step is to make it obvious. Strategies like implementation intentions and habit stacking are amongst more obvious way to create obvious cues for your habit and design a clear plan for when and where to take action. To sum up, make the change you want to achieve obvious. The two most common cues are time and location. Creating an implementation intention is a strategy you can use to pair a new habit with a specific time and location. Habit stacking is a strategy you can use to pair a new habit with a current habit. Motivation is overrated. Environment often matters more. And Thorndike, a primary care physician at Massachusetts General Hospital at Boston, had a massive idea. She thought she could improve the eating habits of thousands of hospital staff and visitors without changing their willpower or motivation in the slightest way. In fact, she didn't plan on talking to them at all. Thorndike and her colleagues designed a 6-month study to alter this choice architecture of the hospital cafeteria. They started by changing how drinks were arranged in the room. Originally, the refrigerators located next to the cash registers in the cafeteria were filled with only soda. The researchers added water as an option to each one. Additionally, they placed buckets of bottled water next to the food stations throughout the room. Soda was still in the primary refrigerators, but water was now available at all drink locations. Over the next 3 months, the number of soda sales at the hospital dropped by 11.4%. Meanwhile, sales of bottled water increased by 25.8%. They made similar adjustments and saw similar results with the food in the cafeteria. Nobody had said a word to anyone eating there. People often choose products not because of what they are, but because of where they are. If I walk into the kitchen and see a plate of cookies on the counter, I'll pick up half a dozen and start eating, even if I haven't been thinking about them beforehand and didn't necessarily feel hungry. If the communal table at the office is always filled with donuts, it's going to be hard not to grab one every now and then. Your habits change depending on the room you are in and the cues in front of you. Environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. Despite our unique personalities, certain behaviors tend to arise again and again under certain environmental conditions. In church, people tend to talk in whispers. On a dark street, people act weary and guarded. In this way, the most common form of change is not internal, but external. We are changed by the world around us. Every habit is context dependent. In 1936, psychologist Kurt Logan wrote a simple equation that makes a powerful statement. Behavior is a function of the person and their environment. In 1952, an economist described a phenomenon he called suggestion impulse buying, which is triggered when a buyer sees a product for the first time and visualizes a need for it. In other words, customers will occasionally buy products not because they want them, but because of how they are presented to them. For example, items that are on the eye level tend to be purchased more than those near the floor. For this reason, you will find expensive brand names featured in easy-to-reach locations on store shelves because they drive the most profit, while cheaper alternatives are tucked away in harder-to-reach spots. The same goes for end caps, which are the units at the end of aisles. End caps are money-making machines for retailers because of their obvious location that encounter a lot of foot traffic. For example, 45% of Coca-Cola sales come specifically from the end of the aisle racks. The more obviously a product or service is, the more likely you are to try it. People drink Bud Light because it is in every bar and visit Starbucks because it is on every corner. We like to think that we are in control. If we choose water over soda, we assume it is because we wanted to do so. The truth, however, is that many of the actions we take each day are shaped not by purposeful drive and choice, but by the most obvious option. Every living being has its own methods for sensing and understanding the world. Eagles have remarkable long-distance vision. Snakes can smell by tasting the air with their highly sensitive thongs. Sharks can detect small amount of electricity and vibrations in the water caused by a nearby fish. Even bacteria has chemoreceptors, tiny sensory cells, that allow them to detect toxic chemicals in their environment. In humans, perception is directed by the sensory nervous system. We perceive the world through sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste. But we also have other ways of sensing stimulus. Some are conscious, but many are non-conscious. Receptors in your body pick up in a wide range of internal stimuli, such as the amount of salt in your blood or the need to when thirsty. The most powerful of all human sensory abilities, however, is vision. The human body has about 11 million sensory receptors. Approximately 10 million of those are dedicated to sight. Some experts estimate that half of the brain's resources are used on vision. Given that we are more dependent on vision than on any other sense, it should come as no surprise that visual cues are the greatest catalyst of our behavior. For this reason, a small change in what you see can lead to a big shift in what you do. As a result, you can imagine how important it is to live and work in environments that are fueled with productive cues and devoid of unproductive ones. Thankfully, there is good news in this respect. You don't have to be the victim of your environment. You can also be the architect of it. Remember, the journey to forming a new habit takes patience, consistency, and a bit of self-compassion. Don't be too hard on yourself if you stumble along the way. Every step forward counts. If you found these tips helpful, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content on personal growth and productivity. Share your progress and any additional tips in the comments below. We love hearing from you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Keep striving for your best self.